I'm Robbie. You heard me talk yesterday. I'm not a tax expert, but I create tax problems for everyone who gets in business with me because we make a lot of money. And so we're happily investing in opportunity zones, and I've been here for 5 years. I call myself the biggest cheerleader of Puerto Rico, and I like to invite people to partner with us and invite people to come to Puerto Rico. So yeah, a little about us. We've done over 100 projects on the island in the last 5 years, and we're going to do a whole bunch
more. And the point here is that everybody here has had their hands on opportunity zones in different levels, right? So we just want to hear from the deep dive, like the weeds, and then the field, right? Like we talked about. So, Jose.
Good morning, Jose Torres. We actually have an alternative asset management firm called Major Capital Partners, and out of that, we also manage a qualified opportunity zone fund called, this is not very creative, but the Puerto Rico Opportunity Zone Fund. And the focus of that was really doing operating businesses in the ESG space, meaning that we're focused on renewable energy, sustainable businesses, and infrastructure.
So first things first here. Robbie, I'm going to ask you, because you're a cheerleader for this island.
Yeah.
You understand enough about OZs to know that you do them and you want to do them and more. So tell us, and this is for the audience, right? Like, tell us the one thing that you want them to know about doing OZ deals in Puerto Rico.
The one thing.
The one thing. Because they'll say another thing, and then Jose will say another thing, and yeah. From your perspective.
Yeah, so the great thing about opportunity zones in Puerto Rico is that 98% of the island is opportunity zone. It makes it easy to stay in compliance for those of my team that keep us in compliance. And so I just think that if you're investing in Puerto Rico, because we're 98% opportunity zones, you have to at least be looking at it and taking advantage of it. I mean, there's way more than one reason to invest in opportunity zones, but I think that it's easily done here. So if you have a fund of your own, the one thing is that Puerto Rico is the place to be, because you can buy oceanfront A+ property inside of an opportunity zone in Puerto Rico, and I think it's only Puerto Rico.
Now you all have OZ fund or funds and OZ Bs, correct?
Yeah, so we have
What's the difference?
So my wife and I have a fund of our own. Dave and I are part of IPQOZB with Ashley Tyson, and we've got a hospitality fund. And then yesterday, everybody on the bus was at the Surfing Turtle. That was our first go with this Opportunity Zone fund stuff. It became a QOZB because we partnered with a couple of people who had their own funds. And they said, hey, we've got this fund and we want to invest in your thing. Can you guys do it? I said, Dave, can we be in compliance? And he said, I think so. So we did it.
Right.
Yeah.
And these are deals that are going to appreciate in value. That's the reason to do it for on top of other layers.
Yeah, we're guys, this is 2012 in Puerto Rico right now, and that's why I and Dave came to the island 5 years ago. We were looking for a place where our money went further and where we thought there was some massive appreciation yet to be had. So times had been really good back in the States in 2015, 16, 17, and as we were looking for new markets, we discovered Puerto Rico as a place that we could come, and this hurricane cycle was the reason that we came after Maria. And we believe that we're in a rocket ship economy with just so much income and money coming to the island that things had to get better and will continue to get better for the next 5, 10, 15 years. And you can see it. Like, my hypothesis was that there's a 5-year cycle with hurricanes, and it came true. Then we just had another hurricane right at the tail end of the 5 years. So I believe we're about to enter this super cycle where we've got a fresh new $60 billion of money coming to the island because of these hurricanes. And so it should, 5 years from now, the island's going to look different again, and it's going to just continue to get better.
Yeah. And you have that 10-year outlook, right?
Yeah.
So it's a perfect fit.
Yeah.
Jose, same question. Like, this is, so you asked what the difference is. The fund level, remember, it's like an orange triangle. And so you can look in your book and you can see the difference there. And then the QOZB is the green triangle. So when you look at the cheat sheet, then you can see the difference is that the fund actually receives the investment part of it, right? And deploys that capital down into the business. But Jose, this is real estate. Now I want to talk about operating businesses. That's how you started, right? So one thing that you want people to know about OZs in Puerto Rico from your perspective?
I'm going to do two.
Okay.
The first one is I wouldn't worry about OZ. Find what you want to invest in, and then figure out how to make it an OZ. Why do I say that? And here's the second reason. In Puerto Rico, this hasn't caught on. I thought it was because of knowledge only, but the real reason is taxes here for capital gains at the personal level is only 15%. So the first thing is people say, I don't want to have my money tied up for 15 years, I'd rather pay 15% tax. And I couldn't figure out, but that's, I think, one of the main reasons. Education is important, but if you're only saving 15%, people kind of say, and you're not used to doing private equity deals, which you're always tied 10 years, people kind of say, I'm not interested. However, because almost everybody qualifies as a qualified opportunity zone business if you do it right, I would say, look what you want to invest in, and then think about OZ. That's my biggest advice.
I think that's really important too, right? I don't know if you have the same cupcake analogy that Maria does, but it's like I was telling someone earlier, Maria talks about the cupcake and then the frosting and then the cherry on top. So I'll steal it. I know it's trademarked and I'll have to pay her for it. But the cupcake has to be really good. That's the deal, right? And OZ doesn't make a bad deal a good one, right? So to Jose's point, like you need to start with a structure just as you would any business. It's the frosting that is the sweetness, right, of Puerto Rico and all the other incentives, and then the cherry on the top of all that is the OZ. So although we're talking about OZ planning and what you can do, it's really important to know that like the deal is the most important piece.
But the fact that you're looking at Puerto Rico, what that means is you're going to have the opportunity to almost structure almost anything, to be a qualified opportunity zone business. And that's my point. Don't think about if you're in the U.S., you're looking at real estate, or how hard is it to be in compliance. If you have a business that's selling things outside of the zone, that's not going to be your main issue here.
Yeah. So I'll ask now from a tax standpoint, the one thing you want people to know about OZs in Puerto Rico, or maybe play off of Jose's point about any business.
Yeah, exactly. As Jose was saying, like in Puerto Rico, we have additional incentives other than OZ. So under Act 60, you can get preferential tax rates.
Can you just raise it up? Yeah, thank you.
In Puerto Rico, you can get preferential tax rates, for the ongoing operations of the business, and you have, other incentives where if the business is eligible, you can benefit from. One thing that I would like you to be mindful of is that we have our own tax code, and although the OC dispositions were drafted very similar to the U.S., we have our differences. And why is this important for you? Well, because you don't want, you want your business strategy and your business plan, to go as you have it in mind. And let's say, for example, the rules that Ashley was discussing about the partnership reinvestments. The 180-day rule that you're thinking about, you come to Puerto Rico and you're thinking, okay, I can have until the partnership's tax return due date to start counting the 180 days. Well, no. In Puerto Rico, the 180-day term starts counting at the last day of the partnership's taxable year end. So that's one difference that you must be mindful of. And you don't want to miss a deadline because you were thinking about the U.S. rules. Also, another thing that you have to consider is that if you have a Puerto Rico capital gain, we have a special form to make the deferral. You cannot just think about filing the IRS form and you're covered. So you have to think, what tax authority is going to tax, my gain? So if it's a Puerto Rico capital gain, then you need to be, you need to file the corresponding form with the Treasury. So those little things are, the devil is on the details. So my advice here is that you hire, a local that knows the particulars of our tax code, so you don't miss out on any deadlines and strategy.
Which is one of the big reasons why they're here, and you can talk to them, right? So just moving on to the next piece, starting a business. Jose, you've met with and dealt with plenty of them, right? What's the one thing, if I'm going to start a business here, that you would, other than expect the unexpected, that you would like to share with people?
Well, I think it's not only tax law. When you look at starting a business in Puerto Rico, it's completely bureaucratic. So you're going to have to, I think someone mentioned it on Monday, the amount of forms and the amount of compliance that you're going to need is not just setting up your company. For your company to be in compliance, you need to have the fire, you have to have so many people involved. So you need to think of it as a checklist. You need to have your Puerto Rican checklist to start a company. Because the simple thing, and most people do, is they'll just start a company from the legal perspective, but then they're never in compliance with the taxes later on because they haven't done the things with it. For example, Patente Municipal is one that always comes up. I didn't do it right either, and I even have advisors, and the reason is that when you go into a portal in Puerto Rico, all of the different tax authorities are separate. So you think you're in compliance, and you might be in compliance with one, but you're not going to be in compliance at the municipality level. And you would expect that all of them will be able to actually get the same information, but they will all ask you for the same information over and over. So just instead of trying to convince them that you've already provided, just keep providing the information they ask you for. That's my recommendation.
Yeah. I want to say, like, this is work, right? Can you imagine trying to do this on your own? And so that's why having this collaborative environment where we have these knowledgeable experts and friends and colleagues and peers coming in to help support and show that they've blazed the path. I mean, Robbie's here, he's sharing how he's done everything. He's got this YouTube channel and he's showing people how to do this, So I'm really grateful for that, and I think that it's just one of those things that you take into consideration. It's like, we say the same thing in our accelerator. It's like, look, if you're not going to show up and you're not going to do the work, it's not going to work. Like you have to be here, be curious, be interested, and get into it. Madeline, do you want to say anything about?
I want to expand on my thoughts are in the same line as Jose. Just be mindful that starting from day one or maybe 30 days before starting your business, you'll be subject to requirements. And just find someone who knows about it. A lot of things are in presence. You have to go to the physical office, and it's very Puerto Rico, although it's very small, it's divided into 78 municipalities. So you can start doing some work from your home office at your home. Just doing that, you'll be required to have some permits. And then you find an office 15 minutes from your home and decide to move your business there. You may be in another municipality, and then there's transfer requirements. So the best thing is don't try to do the work yourself. Just outsource it and have it to be someone local, because they know how things work and they can expedite the processes.
You can also talk to a Sean who banged his head against the wall a few times, right? And that's, again, power of the collaborative community.
Yeah.
I'm going to add one thing. Even if you hire people to help you, it's extremely important for you to be involved in the process. And I'm saying this because even if you get a local tax decree, the tax decree itself, when you read it, doesn't say much. You actually have to go to the law and the regulation. So extremely important. My advice is, as you have other people helping you to do a business or even make an investment, make sure that you get involved and you ask questions, because if all you get is a work product, it might, you might still in the future run into some issues.
I also want to say, that's the importance of what we. There's a little feedback, yeah. That's the importance of doing some of the planning that we'll talk about after lunch. Maria said it on day one. And I'm coming back to this a couple times today. If you ask a really vague question, you're going to get a really vague answer.
I said that.
You said it, Jose. So
because they'll charge you more.
Yeah, well, and her answer to you or whoever it was maybe, right? Yeah. So just working through some of the details and nuances as much as you can, and then bringing on the right people to help you execute that or introduce you to other incentives that can play into it are important, right? Robbie?
Yeah, I have some thoughts on this. Dave does dot every I, cross every T for us. Thank God for Dave. I go around, create the chaos, and then he picks up pieces. But about what we're talking about, I think it's important in Puerto Rico. You have to do it over and over and over. The rules change on you almost every year, sometimes faster than that. The people who today can get something done when it changes from one government agency to another who manages stuff, you need to then find new people that you know that can help you do it. We've been pretty diligent as a team to do things ourselves, like get through Act 60 at the Surfing Turtle. That was done all in-house. We just completely smashed our head against the wall for a long time to do it. And now we hire professionals, but we did that so that we would know a little bit about what we're trying to do. And then even with as diligent as we are, it's not very uncommon at all for us to learn something new that we needed to do before and then have to go back and do it all again. It's way more compliance, Dave would agree, I think, to do business here in Puerto Rico at every level than it is in Florida. Florida's easy, right? Like, so whatever you're doing back home, someone said this, Sean said this, you know, it's not the same, it's different. It's not that it's bad, it's different, but it's always been worth it for us. Like, I invite people every day to come to Puerto Rico and I love it, but there's work that goes into it, right? So my suggestion is when you start the business, you're gonna do things over and over and you do them again until it's over, right? So you just keep going and it's worth it.
Well, and Ashley said it too. It's like even any professional that says they know everything about opportunity zones would run away.
Oh my God!
Right, because it is a constantly learning, evolving. Like the deals that you're going to put together and that you are putting together, those are setting the standard for like what's going to happen. And that leads me into the next question, which is like, Jose, your fund is invested in some operating businesses and now some real estate. What OZ projects have you seen on the island, or are you seeing prospective projects that are coming up? Is there like a common theme or things that you've invested in or that you've seen start to pop up?
Well, I would say it's less of a common theme, but to my original comment, I have to go and make the businesses become qualified opportunity zone businesses for the most part. Or the projects. The project that you guys saw yesterday, or the potential project in Palmas, it was not structured originally as a qualified opportunity zone business. That's how I came into the transaction. That's how Sean also came into the transaction, was basically because we thought that this would be a great project to turn into a qualified opportunity zone business. Now, what that means is that you have to educate the business of what that entails and the compliance side. And that was the next point I was going to bring, is the compliance side for a business is fairly simple. And maybe Ashley's out there. Hey, actually, I think you just left. However, getting them to do the work is the tricky part, right? You only have to do it once a year, but you actually have to think about that on your financial statements because that's really the backup of what you need. So you almost have to train the business or educate the business to be able to not just say, yes, I'm going to be a qualified opportunity zone business, but at the end of every year, be able to not, because what I get is a letter. Yes, I'll certify it. Okay, but give me the backup just in case I'm going to have to show which is, of course, Grant Thornton is my tax advisor, and they're asking me to show them how the qualified opportunity zone business, is in compliance. So, in order for me to say that I, as a fund, I'm in compliance. So.
Yeah. And I do want to say there's a page in the booklet somewhere. We have a QR code for Ozworks Group, and these folks are in the community, and they come to some of the Zooms that we do, and we actually started a freemium membership level. So all the things, the map to search, the videos, the quick cheat sheet. Ashley got into it for 45 minutes. There's a 5-minute video that you can actually watch just to review. So there's like no obligation there. If you kind of graduate up, then you get access to these folks and you can communicate with them. You can get their number anyway, but we wanted everything to be in one place, and we just recently done that so that people don't have to go searching all over Google to find out where the maps are, where the, I want to review that structure again, or I want to join a mailing list. Like it's all in there. So feel free to check that out. But I also want to address that maybe, Robbie, you've seen some deals or projects in OZs, or is it so new that you're kind of like, whatever comes in, I'll look at it? Is there a trend or a theme that?
Well, for us, we heavily invest in real estate, right? And our favorite thesis is to invest in opportunity zones through Act 60 tourism. And we believe that capital stack, or that way of setting things up, significantly de-risks everything you're going to do. We're able to find again and again A+ areas and projects that we can just, either they were knocked out by a hurricane or they never were a hotel, and we take them from whatever use that they had up to their highest and best use, which we right now are believing is hospitality. And doing that inside of opportunity zones with Act 60, we get 40% tax credits. Where can you buy oceanfront A+ real estate, turn it into a resort in an opportunity zone, except in Puerto Rico? And then to your point, I think about the businesses, all of our stuff is based on real estate acquisition and then setting up businesses at the physical location, right? But all of the businesses can also be their own individual QOZBs.
Right.
And I don't understand exactly where it will go. I just know that most likely 10 years from now, the stuff that we are investing in now that we don't even realize are going to be part of what we're going to liquidate is probably going to 10x what we're going to do with the real estate. The real estate's going to do whatever it's going to do, but if we hit some business out of the park, it could be 1,000x, right?
Right.
So
and remember, a business needs to be in a zone
Yeah.
in real estate,
Right.
So I think that I was telling I think Reagan and John like that's almost the holy grail, right?
Yeah.
Is to figure out. And
I was going to add two additional thoughts. One is our original thesis was renewable energy. And there's going to be huge opportunities in Puerto Rico because we have to go from 2% to 100%. And I say even if we get to 20%, that's a huge amount. That's over $10 billion of investment. However, that has taken much longer than expected. So what we focus on is things that service, and this is to Robbie's point, those sectors. So I don't care who builds a project. What do they need in order to build a project? So what we're focused right now is on the opportunities that it doesn't matter who actually is going to build something from, because we're trying to give diversification from real estate because there's a lot of people doing it and doing it well, is how can if there's going to be a lot of construction, is there some companies that will be supplying that business that are not huge companies already in Puerto Rico, right? Because a large company, well capitalized, first of all, they won't want your money, and second of all, they don't care about becoming a qualified opportunity zone business. But that's, I think, the biggest thing that I would say for folks here is look at where you want to invest, and then also look around, because those other companies that are going to make that investment successful are really targets for opportunity zone investment.
right, the two of you, are you seeing any trends with your clients other than renewable energy, real estate?
Well, most of our clients are.
Actually, use that mic. It's a little
Okay.
bit better.
Since we have a lot of traffic for businesses who are interested in OC but also in Act 60, we've seen a tendency for integrated projects, and what we've seen and we're helping our clients is breaking down the business and into different components. And when I say components, I mean possible QOCBs, and each one having a role within Act 60 to maximize tax strategy. We've seen tourism, real estate because of the priority projects. We've seen a flow in manufacturing, and we've helped nonprofits with projects that had been stagnant and they need investment. So we help them strategize with that. And also in the service area, not necessarily that the QOCBs are in Puerto Rico. You can having OC structures in the US, but having Puerto Rico entities somehow support those businesses without having them within the actual structure. So that's been the theme we've seen in this past year.
Great. So are there any questions for these folks? Or is everybody just really hungry and ready for lunch? I mean, I want to thank all of them. I've gotten to know them as people and friends, and really grateful that come up here and share your experience with us, and you're available. So you'll be around. I think if you have real specific tax questions, these two will be here till 3 o'clock. So swarm them. Well, you can. Anything else that you want to add or questions? Hungry, ready for lunch.
I think we've covered this kind of in general, but one of the really important distinctions between Puerto Rico and kind of U.S.-based stuff that C Corp, these ladies are excellent resources for that. They actually helped us with our failure to file the 8832 or 8862. I can't remember.
8832.
32.
And so in Puerto Rico, your default is a corporation. You got to file an 8832 in order to make it a partnership. We didn't meet the window, and so we were looking at being a partnership for aggregate IPQOZB.
So that means you were never listening to me every time I said that. It happened to me. It happens to anybody in the U.S. It's the opposite. You do an LLC in the U.S. to be a pass-through. In Puerto Rico, you do an LLC, and if you don't elect, it's basically a corporation. So.
It's another big difference, right? Trap for the unwary, which you're not really thinking about. One of the other big ones, and they pointed this out earlier too, is this whole notion of that you got to have like local municipal licenses and that kind of thing to operate a business. And so if you set up a QOZB, by very definition, it has to be a trade or business. So you've got to comply with your local regs. In America, we're used to whatever, we can just do it. We can do it from anywhere. We don't have to get a local business license, right? Because it's pretty much done away with them. Down here, it's a different story. So you got to pay attention to that and utilize the service and utilize somebody that can assist you with that when you form your entity.
Hire Grant Thornton. That's what that translates to. Sean, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to take my turn answering the question that wasn't asked of me, but that you guys were asked why Opportunity Zone in Puerto Rico right at the beginning of the panel. Just three quick things. One, why Opportunity Zone generally? Most of us came to Opportunity Zones because we had a big tax event and we're like, oh crap, now what do we do, right? But once you mature in that process, you start to realize that's not the benefit. The benefit is the step up in basis at the end. This is like a giant Roth IRA that you're never going to pay taxes on the growth of this thing. So if you're still thinking about the tax event, I really want to encourage you to think about the big benefit of OZ, which is that step up in basis at the end. Second, why in Puerto Rico? Robbie touched on it, the ladies touched on it. The double down that you get with all of the Act 60 incentives in Puerto Rico, like Opportunity Zone plus that. Now, some of that is just your compensation for the added bureaucracy and challenges of doing business here. It's different. But on your second deal, you're going to be way better at it, right? You're going to understand not to make the same mistakes, and that those tax incentives, which are not just about the tax credit, it's about the reduction in your property taxes and the significant reduction in your income tax burden for doing business in Puerto Rico. And the third thing that you ought to know is that didn't come up in the panel. The credit markets here are, I'll say the same thing. I don't care where you come from. The credit markets here are different and more complicated and less loose than where you come from already. So when you're envisioning this project that you're going to do, whether it's an operating business or real estate, don't anticipate that your 80% of your capital stack is going to be debt. It is not going to be 80% in debt. Let me just get that out of the way. It's not going to be 80% debt. It's going to be, if it's greater than zero, it's going to be something far less than 80%. In a great project, maybe 60, right? Maybe. And it doesn't happen very fast, right? So just be aware your capital stack, your normal capital stack from the States is not going to look the same here. So thank you for letting me say
Thanks, Sean. I hope everyone could hear. I could hear you. So
we can hear
yeah.
you.
Deb. Yeah.
I just want to add to that because, I just found out about Opportunity Zones when I started coming to Puerto Rico, and I just opened my first fund 3 months ago because I had a capital gains event. And, I did go into it because of the capital gains event. But the fact of the matter is my only other option was 1031 exchange, which you, by the way, never get your money out of, right? So, there's only one option, and then for me, it wasn't an option. Right, so, learning this, and now my next adventure is learning compliance, so.
The compliance adventure, yeah.
So, it's just, I went into it looking for it to solve that problem. I just want to echo what you said, and it's not, that's not where the benefit really lies.
Cool.
Can I?
Yeah.
I'll add to that again. So we've started to look for ways to create capital gains because we see that we want to continue to invest in this way And it's not about having had an event, it's about creating new events so that we can jam as much money into this stuff as we possibly can and start these businesses and run these businesses for a long, long time and take advantage of. It's not a tax deference, right? Like, so if you do the 1031, eventually the government comes calling and you're going to pay a tax at some point. This is complete tax avoidance, right? So you are at the end of 10 years able to liquidate, get all of your money back and out, take all of your gain and pay no tax. Nothing has ever existed like this before. This is the greatest wealth builder that we've ever had the pleasure of being involved with, and thank God that we're here at the right place at the right time, and you're in Puerto Rico and you're in a rocket ship economy. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than this.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents.